Hey everybody, welcome in and thanks for joining us again for today's Daily Recruiting Nugget. As always, I'm Tyler Waldrop here with Andrew Bone, and today we're talking about four-star dual-threat quarterback Jalen Milroe from Texas. Bone, what can you tell us about him?
Yeah, Jalen Milroe out of Katy High School or Katy, Texas, Tompkins High School, has been a Alabama target for a long time now. Camped in Tuscaloosa last summer, has visited, has a lot of interest in the Crimson Tide, especially before he made his commitment. We saw him commit last summer, I believe it was in July. It was after Alabama picked up a commitment from Drake May, who was from North Carolina and has since decommitted and is now committed to the Tar Heels. Decided to stay home following his family's footsteps, which wasn't really a major surprise once Alabama signed Bryce Young. But ever since then they've really kind of stepped up, started really recruiting Jalen Milroe again. Now people may think that because Drake May was committed that Jalen Milroe was kind of forgotten about. Well, he wasn't forgotten about. Alabama continued to recruit him. They continue to stay in contact with him because you never know what may happen in recruiting. So you always maintain those relationships. You continue to recruit guys. Even if that spot may be filled, you continue to recruit those guys just in case that spot becomes available down the road. And obviously, I think Alabama did a really good job of maintaining that relationship with him, and and not kind of just forgetting about him and not recruiting him until Drake May decided to flip. They've kept that relationship open, and I think Alabama's got a chance. Obviously, it's tough to flip kids, but we see Alabama do that just about every single year. We've seen a ton of flips through the years, a ton of kids who've been committed elsewhere and decided to reopen and then end up in Tuscaloosa. So I mean, you look at guys like just at the running back position. Derrick Henry was a former Georgia commitment, and even when he was committed to Georgia, came out and said, I feel like Alabama's the best spot for me, even while he was committed to Georgia. Obviously, we saw T.J. Yeldon flip his commitment. Just last year we saw several guys flip, including Jace McClellan, who flipped from Oklahoma to Alabama. So there's always going to be flips. You don't want them to be from your school and go elsewhere, but definitely some guys are going to flip every recruiting class, and Alabama's certainly hoping to get some flips this year. And he's certainly one of those guys that they're heavily targeting. Quarterback's interesting because we saw where Drake May decommitted, and I think a big part of that, everybody wants to say, North Carolina is North Carolina because of Mac Brown, head coach. That recruiting class, really well going really well right now, and the family legacy. I really do think it was a big part of that. Even though he never said it, I think a big part of it was Bryce Young. The Bryce Young effect, signing the top quarterback in the country. It's not really going to be probably great for coaching staffs to recruit other quarterbacks the following year. And but the guy like Jalen Milroe, I think he has a lot of interest in Alabama. He's had a lot of interest in Alabama prior to Bryce Young committing and signing with Alabama. I don't know if that is going to really be that big of a factor for him. We'll have to kind of wait and see, but I do think he is going to get back to Tuscaloosa. He's in a lot of communication with the coaching staff. Steve Sarkisian, Jeff Banks kind of leading the charge there in terms of recruiting him and kind of staying in contact with him daily. With the quarterback position, obviously we've talked about Miller Moss as a target for Alabama, but every time I've mentioned Miller Moss, I've always mentioned Jalen Milroe as a target for Alabama as well. They've kind of been the top two targets for Alabama since Drake May decommitted, and I think Miller Moss ends up most likely USC. I just put in a future cast for USC for Miller Moss, and we could potentially see something happen soon with him. But with Jalen Milroe, I don't think we'll see an immediate flip or anything like that. And I'm not predicting that just yet. I think Alabama needs to get him back on campus for a visit, once this recruiting dead period ends. So probably not until the football season starts, but I think he'll definitely visit again. And I think Alabama will certainly have a chance with him.
So if I'm just a fan listening at home, I hear you say Miller Moss, Jalen Milroe, sort of Alabama's top two guys, but you just put in a future cast for Miller Moss. So should Alabama fans be worried about quarterback this time? Or is, these are just the top two guys, but Alabama's going to land somebody no matter what happens?
Nick Saban loves to add a quarterback in every class. It doesn't matter if they signed 4 quarterbacks last year. They're going to try to sign a quarterback in every recruiting class. So that's just kind of been his MO every year. Always wants to sign a quarterback. And, these are the top 2 guys, outside of Drake May, who ended up flipping. I think they would entertain Drake May again, but I don't think there's any chance there. I think he's locked in with UNC, and I don't see him flipping back or probably even visiting Tuscaloosa again. I think that these are the top 2 guys that they're going after. Miller Moss, Jalen Milroe. Now, if Miller Moss commits to USC or another program, obviously, Jalen Milroe, really becomes the only guy that they're really focusing in on now. Obviously, people will think, who are some other guys that they're going after? Not really a lot of other guys out there. We've seen a lot of top quarterbacks already make their decisions. And even though Alabama is recruiting a guy who's committed to one program, they're not really going after any other guys that are committed elsewhere right now. I mean, they may bring some guys in, maybe in the fall. A lot's going to depend on if they can get Jalen Milroe. Now, if they can't get him, they'll probably go after some other guys, bring them on campus, maybe make some more offers. But if they feel like they have a chance with Jalen Milroe, I think they'll wait, especially since they signed Bryce Young in last year's recruiting class. They know that what they have in the future. They've got a really talented quarterback that's a true freshman. Can you potentially get another guy to come in there and compete? And is he going to be worried about competition? Because, we saw a few years ago when Alabama ends up signing Jalen Hurts and he starts his freshman year as the SEC Offensive Player of the Year as a freshman. Well, Alabama still signed Tua, and obviously, Tua ends up winning that quarterback job. So, if you believe in yourself and believe that you're a better quarterback, I mean, why not make that decision? I don't think it's a foregone conclusion that Bryce Young's the starting quarterback at Alabama for the next 4 years. The competition is always going to be open, and Nick Saban has proven time and time again that it doesn't matter if you were the starter as a true freshman. If the other guy that comes in after you is better, the other guy's probably going to start. So we'll just have to wait and see. But I do believe that Alabama has a strong connection with Jalen Milroe. And even before he committed to Texas, I remember talking to him last summer, and he named 4 or 5 schools that he was highly interested in that were kind of the top schools for him. He didn't even mention Texas as one of those schools. Now, obviously, they came in and ended up winning him over and got his commitment. But yeah, I mean, I think that Alabama was at the top of his list, and I think he would have committed to Alabama last summer if it wasn't for Drake May.
Okay, absolutely. That's a great insight. But it also seems kind of, there's at least some talk that maybe Clay Helton's on the hot seat this year at USC. So maybe Miller Moss becomes available again just because something happens over there.
Yeah, and and that's kind of what happened with Bryce Young last year. I mean, everybody thought that Clay Helton was going to get fired. Now, he didn't, obviously, and Bryce Young still flipped. But yeah, I mean, if we see Clay Helton get fired, and potentially Herman. Tom Herman needs to have a good year out at Texas. I mean, there's definitely a lot of pressure on him as well. So, we'll see what happens there. But like I said, I think Alabama's not too concerned with quarterback. They're focusing on a couple guys they'd love to add. They miss on both of them. Maybe they offer somebody a little bit further down the road. Maybe they don't.
Okay, yeah, some great insight from Bone today. Guys, we wouldn't encourage y'all to panic right now. We think it's going to be a long recruiting cycle, a really strange recruiting cycle because guys can't even visit until August at the earliest right now. So, yeah, well, I mean, we'll see how it all shakes out. And just keep following us. Keep up with our YouTube page. We're going to post these nuggets a couple times a week. We're also when guys commit, like we've had some guys, most recently Ian Jackson, when these guys commit, we'll have videos up on our YouTube page. And check out BamaInsider.com. Bone at least 2 or 3 times a week is gonna break down different guys or positions or answer questions that y'all have. So just make sure you're going to the website and checking things out and kind of keeping up with everything that we're doing.